Good morning, writers. Happy Monday morning. We're jump starting with Nick Usborne. Hello, Nick Usborne.
Good morning.
Morning.
Here again.
We are here again. If you missed it, for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking to Nick. I've been picking his brain about what has made him so successful and how he stayed, has had this longevity in his career. And we covered talking about change and curiosity. So I highly recommend listening to those if you haven't heard them yet. But today, Nick, I think might be one of the most intriguing for me, that what makes me very curious is mistakes that you've made. And how are you, where do you sit with mistakes? Do they still scare you? Is there fear around them? What do you feel about potentially making mistakes?
I think if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. It's like when I was my father and my older brothers were absolute fanatics of skiing. And I remember, like, I was young and I was trying to keep up with them and I kept crashing and I was like feeling bad about it. And I said, I've got to stop. I don't know how to be good enough at this. So I stopped crashing. And my dad said, if you're not crashing, you're not trying hard enough. You're not pushing yourself enough. And I kind of always remember that. And I think if you talk to almost any entrepreneur, certainly in North America, North Americans probably have the most positive mindset when it comes to entrepreneurial errors. It's like everyone gets it. Of course, you make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, then you're just treading a well-worn path. All right, you're following the blueprint, which is fine. You can earn a living that way, but you'll never really do anything really interesting or remarkable that way. You got to try new stuff. And if you try new stuff, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to stumble and you're going to fall over and sometimes it's going to hurt. We were at this last boot camp, there was a panel and people were talking about setting goals and stuff. And I said, one thing I just want to let you know is it sounds like we all had master plans. Like we had goals and we've just been stepping one step at a time relentlessly and everything's been fine. I said, I can't speak for the others, but for me, it's not like that. I just keep falling flat on my face, flat on my face, flat on my face. And so long as I'm pointing in the right direction, falling flat on my face, I keep going forward.
Falling forward, yeah.
Yeah, I'm falling forward, and that is absolutely it. So let's say in the last, hey, and again, you talk about my success, and I'm still standing as a freelance copywriter after 45 years, and that's not bad. But I've had some terrible years. I've made mistakes in my choice of clients. I've made mistakes in where I've pointed myself. I've had I've had one or two terrible years. I've had one or two insanely good years, and I've had a whole bunch of years, in the middle and that have been absolutely fine and good. So when you talk to experts and gurus and stuff, we tend not to talk too much about our mistakes. Hey, just in this last couple of years, I'm always thinking of something new. Like I want a new revenue stream, I don't like all my eggs in one basket. I like to have different streams of revenue coming in. So I'm trying different things. Like, I wonder if this will work. I wonder if this will work. And at the moment, I'm doing something that is working. I'm looking at it and I'm putting X dollars in and I'm getting 10X dollars out. And I'm thinking, man, this is great. And so I can talk to people about, look at me, look what I did. But preceding that, like for about 2 years, I've been in pursuit of this next revenue stream. And it was just one mistake and failure after another. Just flat on my face, I thought it would work. It didn't. I thought I was right. I was wrong. So, and I think if you feed most successful entrepreneurs and freelancers with a truth serum and say, do you make mistakes too? They'd all say yes. We tend not to put it in our resume. We tend not to talk about it when we stand up on stage or in interviews like this. But yeah, I make more mistakes than I have successes. I probably like, of the things that I try, and I kind of go all in to try to make something work. I don't just dip a toe in. I say, look, I'm going to go. And there's one area that a couple of years ago I went all in. I spent ton of money, a huge amount of time and energy and resources into it. And it didn't work out. So it's like sometimes things don't. So it's not so much when we talk about making mistakes, it's not like I've made some huge, it's not like, in a sense, it's not a mistake.
Yeah.
It's when things
Learning
don't
curve.
work out. It's when things don't work out. And when I talk to people at the beginning of the career and they try something that doesn't work out, it can be very discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
can't do this. Well, yes, you can. You just keep,
You just keep
on
going.
falling, right? You just
Yeah.
got to have a slightly thicker skin. And yeah, for me, my batting is it's about 1 in 5 things that I try that really work. And they're the things that I surface and then
Mm-hmm.
talk about, and everyone can
Yes.
say, "Oh my goodness, Nick, he's doing so
Yes.
well." But really, I should probably I should get up on stage and talk about my 10 biggest failures of the last
No,
15
but
years.
I think it's a very important point, because everybody gets so nervous about their failures, right, and their mistakes, and they're what we call learning curves. And they think that that is what everybody's going to focus on. But when Nick Usborne takes the stage, we talk about how he was the pioneer of web. We don't talk about the 5 things that maybe didn't work before you became the pioneer of web, or we talk about how you're an expert in AI, and not maybe the 5 things, or to your average, the 4 things that came before that, right? It's
Right.
so the focus, and I don't think it's you intentionally doing it. I think it's human nature of what everybody does. It's almost like that's what lifts to the surface, right? And as an individual, we're so worried about the failures, and that's going to be the focus. Yet innately, what the focus is when you hit the win, and when you have
Right.
that success. And I think, we talked about momentum, and that's the momentum forward, right? Like it's you get to a point where by your track record, okay, there's going to be a couple of these, and then I'm going to hit it. So I'm going to keep going, because I'm going to
Right.
hit it.
Yeah, and it's hey, it's the same. And again, probably mistakes may be the wrong word. Maybe we should have come up with a
Yeah.
better word than mistakes. But hey, I can make mistakes. I've made mistakes in how I market myself, and I realize, oh man, I've been doing this wrong. I should be doing it this way and not that way. So yeah, I guess there can be mistakes, but really for people in an earlier stage of the career, it don't be discouraged by this.
Mm,
It's like my dad said, if you're not crashing on your skis, you're not trying hard enough. You're not trying to learn hard enough.
yeah.
Um, and I know it's easy for me to say that, and I know it is discouraging when you things don't go the way you wanted, or you feel you've
Mm,
made a mistake, and maybe my proposal was not as good as it should be. Maybe I messed up on that email. Maybe I kind of blew it with that phone call. Maybe I made a mistake in talking about X. It's part of the course. Is the way it goes, and in a sense, success in client acquisition, negotiating fees, getting better jobs, all of this is a numbers game.
yeah.
Hey, it's like if you cold call for a client. It's the same math, right? It's even worse cold calling a client. You'll probably call 20 clients who say no before you find one who says yes. All right,
It's the same with dating, right? It's all the odds. You gotta play the odds.
so it's a numbers game. You just keep on trying and trying and trying,
Yeah.
and maybe you've made some mistakes along the way in how you've tried to do this, but you learn from those mistakes.
Yes.
If you don't make mistakes, you tend not to learn. You're kind of plateaued. So that's the other thing about mistakes is there, and that's why, the North America, the US mindset about entrepreneurship is fairly unique in the world. It's certainly different in Europe, where if your business fails, it's there's a bit of a cloud over you. Yes, he tried that, but he failed. Whereas in North America, like if a business fails, it's yay, another step up the ladder,
Yeah.
another
Moving
failure,
forward.
another
Yeah.
another notch.
Yeah.
So it's seen in a much more positive light, and I think that's right, because it's part of the learning process. Is if you don't make mistakes, you're not learning, and you're not trying enough. You're not trying hard enough.
Yeah. One of my favorite analogies that I feel like ties in with this, because I know how frustrating it can be when you're in that the 4 no's, or the 4 mistakes, or the 4 learning curves, whatever we want to call them, is that it's your plane. Your plane is circling in the air, right? Like when there's bad weather underneath, you don't want to land during that. You don't want to go through that like horrible turbulence and fully crash. So your plane is just circling and circling and circling. And then when it's the optimum conditions and everything is perfect, that's when the landing happens, right? And that's when it all like comes together. So like when you're in that tough spot of it, just feels like, because when you're in it, and you're in that one mistake, it feels like you're stuck there, and that that's all that there is, right? But it's like everything is coming together so that when that number
Right.
5 out of 5 comes, that you're landing and everything is perfect, and then it all works out. It all works out eventually.
Yeah.
Nick is proof.
So another, I just want to go kind of inwards.
Yeah.
Another mistake I've made a lot is actually in my inner game, my mindset. Is sometimes if I get, say, 3 failures in a row, I start to feel sorry for myself. Like, oh, poor me, I work so hard and I'm not stupid, but it failed. Poor me, oh, poor me, oh, poor me. And there's no one there to take care of me if I fall. Poor me.
I don't deserve this, I'm sure it comes in there.
So, and that's like, I'm very aware of it. I do that. That's a temptation of mine. Is like if things go badly for too long, I get into that poor old me mode, and I'm aware of that. I'm self-aware. I know it's coming, and so I try to deal with it really quickly because it's a very, very negative vibe.
Yes.
And it is not helpful.
Yes.
And if you do that, it's going to make you scared. If you allow that to take over your mind, you're going to be scared of making future mistakes. So I know that. Hey, and it's almost like some of this is like baggage we've carried with us since we were kids. That whole, why doesn't anyone help me? Why isn't there anyone there for me? And so the self-awareness happening here. You have to be self-aware of these various triggers and stuff. And you have to learn how to deal with mistakes or failures in a positive way. Have that positive mindset of, hey, this is just another step in the road. That failed. I didn't get the X dollars. I didn't get the 2 clients or 5 clients or whatever. But I learned these 3 things. 1, never do this. 2, don't assume that. And 3, maybe do a little bit more of this. So every failure has learning attached to it. And you probably learn more from your failures than you do from your successes, because your successes, you tend not to dismantle them as much. You tend not to like, hey, it works, I'm cool, it works. Failure, when you make a mistake and you fail on something, it's like, okay, let me tease this apart and just see what happened here.
You don't forget it, right? That you don't forget,
because it hurts. We are very attuned to pain. Humans, like we're very aware of pain. We don't like pain, so when something hurts, we tend to pay attention to it.
So and avoid it in the future.
We'll try, but at the same time, it's the mindset is, I know this is going to happen again. I mean, I know it's going to happen again. I know I'm not suddenly like, yay, I got there. Hey, I remember like when I was leaving school, I guess at age 18, I thought, hey, I'm an adult. It's just plain sailing from now on. And I just, no, actually, it's just starting. Leaving school is just part of the journey. It's not the end of the journey. After which everything is going to be just fine. So it's not like you're going to stop making mistakes or stop having little failures along the way, but learn from them and always try to maintain that positive mindset of like, hey, that's cool. It happens. On to the next thing.
It's the advice I always give new parents. Like, it's almost like this too shall pass. So when it's bad, it's this too shall pass, so you'll get past it. When it's good, this too shall pass, so enjoy it and revel in it, but you know that this is the moment that you're in, and then it's going to change. It's not forever, right? So
you mean my success will pass?
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, Nick, you are eternally successful. That specific win is the one. I like this a lot. So I like how we ended here with going into yourself and being aware of what you're feeling when you are down, and that sometimes you are the one that has to pick yourself up out of that, to know that the win is coming, right? And to get to that win, you got to do the picking up of yourself. Get up out of it, jump out of it with a Monday morning jumpstart. Okay, so I think next week, I don't want to give it too much away, but we'll get into something that sets you apart from others. You said that you always like to be like the one of one instead of the one of many. And I think that your advice is going to be something that helps people be there and get there. But thank you again, Nick Usborne, for going inside and veiling your mistakes and being vulnerable with all of us.
Being vulnerable.
Yes, this therapy session has been fantastic. You pass. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.